Welcome to Movies with MacLean. I'm Andrew MacLean, and this is the weekly movie podcast where we talk all things movies, including the latest in movie news. With me today is Grant Hoffman. Grant, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Great to be back on the show.
Yeah, it hasn't been long. You were here for our last episode, but that was a couple weeks ago. We are just coming back from our 2-week break, and if you heard that Terminator music we play at the beginning, that's because today our topic is sci-fi action. Now, part of the reason we were off for a couple weeks is because I was out of town, and I was lucky enough to be at WonderCon in Anaheim to get a chance to see some new footage from Wonder Woman. This was some exclusive footage, so I'm going to start the show off by talking a little bit about what they showed us there. I did get to see 2 exclusive scenes. The first scene being the one that they showed part of in that trailer where Chris Pine is being like stalked, like someone's following him, and he tells Wonder Woman to stand back. They hide in an alley. Some guy pulls a gun out and shoots at him, and she blocks it with her wrist bracelets. So I got to see that whole scene, and it's pretty good. I enjoyed it. I think that the acting in that scene was sufficient for Gal Gadot. I know I've criticized her, but it was good enough, and it was a good chemistry between the 2 actors in that scene, and it was a good throwback to Richard Donner's Superman. The scene where he takes the bullet, or he catches it. So I did enjoy that scene a lot. And the other one was actually an action sequence, and if you saw Batman v Superman, the scene where Batman is in the warehouse taking guys out, it's like that, but with Wonder Woman. So it was pretty awesome, and except she's not killing people, so it's even better. So I did really enjoy both of these scenes. Grant, I know that you've been skeptical of Wonder Woman. How does this make you feel? Are you more excited for the movie now?
At this point with the DC Universe, I find it hard to get too excited for anything because, they can have a great cast and have every material to make a good movie, and it can just come out mediocre or not very good. Zack Snyder's not directing, I'm pretty sure.
It's Patty Jenkins.
Yeah. So, with him not directing, I do think there is a chance that it's going to be pretty good. I'm sure it's going to try to hit hard on a bunch of feminist tones, which, I don't know, which will either hit or miss. I'm not sure, but I'm sure, I think it could be decent. I'm not going to say I think it's going to be great because I don't know what to think of it.
Yeah, it was a lot of action that we saw, so as far as the story goes, I'm still not sure on that, and you would expect them to show you the best footage they have, so obviously they're going to show good footage, not bad footage, if they want the fans to get excited. So yes, it did further my excitement a little bit, but I am still a little skeptical, especially the accents. I think that, I think it's Connie Nielsen plays Hippolyta, and her accent seems like really unnatural. But while I was at WonderCon, I also got a chance to see the world premiere of Teen Titans: The Judas Contract. So this is the newest DC animated film, and it was actually really good, I have to say. I've been a fan of a lot of these DC animated movies, and I think that this is a good modernized adaptation of the classic Teen Titans story. There's a lot of new things they threw in there that really worked well. I think with Damian Wayne being added. And I think Deathstroke was a great villain in this animated movie. And really, I just think that there was good chemistry between the Teen Titans, and there were a lot of lighthearted, funny moments, but then also a lot of cool action. So, Grant, are you a fan of any of these DC animated movies?
I haven't seen a whole lot of them, if I'm being honest with you. I've heard, Batman the Killing Joke is very good, and I know that, their Batman movies have historically held up and been very good. I honestly, I haven't watched enough of them to have an opinion on the whole program, I guess.
Okay, so if you jump into it, I recommend The Dark Knight Returns is probably the best one. But yeah, I think The Judas Contract is another good entry into this DC animated universe. And last thing I want to say about my experience at WonderCon is just big shout out to all the crew over at Schmoes Know. They had a panel there and a meet and greet, and I got to chat with a lot of the Schmoes crew. So thanks to all of you guys. Very friendly, showed an interest in the fans and showed an interest in this podcast. So thanks a lot to the Schmoes crew. Now we're going to move on to more movie news that came out around the world in the past week. We have been away for a couple weeks, so we're not going to talk about the It trailer or the Justice League trailer. That was a couple weeks ago. Even though we haven't talked about it on this show, we do have a time limit, so we're just going to talk about the news since Thursday through today, Wednesday. So we have 3 trailers that came out in the past week, and those are War for the Planet of the Apes, King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, and The Mummy. So, Grant, what did you think of the War for the Planet of the Apes trailer?
I love it. I think that movie is going to be so good. I think that I like how it's portraying the humans as the bad people, just throughout the entire series. I really like, and Caesar is played excellently by Andy Serkis, and I think he's probably going to reprise his role just fine. And I think it looks like they're going more action heavy in this one. Yeah. And I think I really like it kind of shows a little bit more of the conflict between the apes and Woody Harrelson and Caesar, which it seems like it's a lot more personal this time. Like, while it was just humans in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, in this war one, it looks like Caesar is more of a beef with specifically that person as well as humans. So I'd like to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I have to agree with everything you just said. I think that they're just going to continue building upon this franchise. Dawn was better than Rise, and hopefully War will be the best one yet. I think that they're not showing us too much with these trailers, but just a little bit of more plot each time. So I'm not going to be spoiled going into it, and I am just beyond excited for this new entry in the Apes franchise. The next trailer is King Arthur. So what do you think of that one?
I don't know what to expect from this, to be honest. I think it could be kind of like a sleeper hit. Like, I think it could end up being good, and people do go see it. But I also think that, there's no guarantee. It's not just going to be like another run-of-the-mill action thing. And, the last historic fantasy movie to come out was The Great Wall. And we all know The Great Wall was just absolutely the best movie.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's kind of got my hopes up a little bit there. But, not really. But, I think it could be pretty good. I'm not entirely sure, but I think the acting looks okay and the action looks pretty good.
Yeah, they've had a lot of trailers for this now, and this is the first time we've talked about this movie on here, but I think that the trailers have progressively gotten better, and I'm actually starting to think that this could be pretty good. I'm not certain, but I do think that Jude Law could be a pretty great villain. I like everything we've seen from him. And they're using that Zeppelin music, which, Zeppelin being my favorite band, only gets me more excited. Obviously, it doesn't say anything about the movie, but I think it made the trailer pretty awesome. So I'm hopeful. I think that it could be a new fantasy movie that's good, which we haven't gotten in a while, as far as not something that's already part of a franchise. We had Harry Potter was great throughout, and if you call these, like Thor Ragnarok, obviously fantasy, but something that's not part of a franchise, new fantasy, I think that this could be one.
Snow White and the Huntsman was so good, though.
Oh, yeah. I know. Alright, last trailer was The Mummy. So what do you think of the new trailer for The Mummy?
I think it looks okay. I don't really know where they're going to go with the plot, because I don't see how Tom Cruise helps the mummy get her powers back. I don't know how that goes, but I think it's an interesting concept. I like what they're trying to do with the whole. Now that people are seeing how much money Marvel makes with every movie, they're kind of hopping on trying to make these cinematic universes, and I think some of them are going to fail and some of them are going to succeed. And I think if the Mummy does well and it ends up being a pretty good action movie, I think that the monster universe. What did you say it was? Invisible Man, maybe.
I think that's one of them they're doing, yeah. I can't remember all the others, but
I think it could turn out pretty good, especially for people who kind of they could mix it up. No, all of Marvel's are superheroes, but this one could switch back kind of between genres with fantasy, sci-fi, horror. I think it could go a bunch of different ways, and I like that, the possibilities of that.
Yeah, I did enjoy this trailer. I think that the mummy, the princess, could actually be a really menacing villain who could be like almost impossible to stop. I mean, you think she's locked away down there, but like whoever locked her away couldn't kill her. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do kill her in this movie if they can. And I don't know how Tom Cruise is relevant, like you said. How I think Russell Crowe's character says in the trailer, "You've been chosen by evil." I don't know what that means, but I guess that's good that we don't know, because then we'll find out when we watch the movie. I am gonna see it. I think the first trailer might have had a little more horror elements, where this one showed more of the action. I just
Yeah.
think the first trailer is more ominous with like the music they used. But I am excited for it. Tom Cruise always gives his best performance. Never takes movies off. So, if anything, if for no other reason, that's a reason to be excited for The Mummy. Now, this is the first episode of the month of April. So, we are going to move into our segment Netflix Rundown, where we run down all the movies that are new to Netflix in April, and talk about what we're most excited to watch now that it's on Netflix. So, and what you as the audience should be excited for. So the relevant movies, or the noteworthy movies that are new to Netflix in April, we have A Nightmare on Elm Street, Gremlins, Kubo and the Two Strings, Schindler's List, Scooby-Doo, The Prestige, and Tropic Thunder. So Grant, which of these are you most excited for?
I mean, I like Tropic Thunder. It's a classic. Um, Nightmare on Elm Street, also very good. Gremlins, classic. I mean, none of these I am entirely too excited for, except for the only one I haven't seen, which is Kubo and the Two Strings, which I'm not sure what to think about. However, I do think the claymation is probably cool. It's probably very cinematically striking, but its ratings are also very good. So, I mean, if it comes out and I have nothing else to watch when I get home one night, I'll probably try to watch that because it's supposed to be very good.
Yeah, I'll need to check that one out too, because I also haven't seen it. I've only heard good things. But the one that I'm most excited for has got to be Schindler's List. And I know that's not a movie like, yeah, we're all getting the boys together to watch Schindler's List. You know, not an exciting movie by any means, but I'm excited that it's on there because I haven't seen it, and now there's really no excuse for me not to watch Schindler's List. So
Yeah,
I do look
classic.
forward to seeing that. Spielberg, maybe my favorite director, one of the best directors. And that's an all-time great movie, so I'm glad that that's now more accessible. Another movie I'd throw out there, The Prestige, great Christopher Nolan film. A lot of people haven't seen, so if you're watching this, you haven't seen The Prestige, check it out now that it's on Netflix. So we are going to move in now to our discussion of sci-fi action movies. We're talking about this because Ghost in the Shell is now in theaters. Not doing too well. It kind of bombed, but we're still talking sci-fi action. And we have a good list here. We have 8 movies that we're going to talk about, and I think it's a good list because it's a list with a lot of variety. We have some more recent films as well as some classics. Good blend, a lot of decades represented by the films we're talking about. And a few honorable mentions. We're not going to talk about The Matrix because we just talked about that about a month ago, so go watch our Keanu Reeves episode if you want to hear us talk about The Matrix. Grant was here for that too. And we're not going to talk about The Terminator because we have another Terminator movie that we'll talk about. I think you can guess which one that is, but we only wanted to do one movie per franchise. So the first movie that we're talking about today for sci-fi action is 1986 James Cameron's Aliens. Grant, why don't you start us off with some overall thoughts on Aliens?
To me, Aliens is just like a sequel done right. I don't think a repeat of the formula and the same characters is always. I mean, it's great how they just brought in a completely different director, made the franchise completely different, and just overall like made a fantastic movie. I mean, you're on the edge of your seat. It has tense moments. It has funny moments. Just overall like a great blockbuster.
Yeah.
And I mean, James Cameron is known for making that. Definitely just, I mean, the scene with Ripley and the robot, iconic, gotta
Yeah.
love it. Probably around the time, probably definitely good to have, like, that strong female lead was definitely very cool. I mean, that was along with, like, Terminator 2.
This was
stuff like
before
that.
Terminator 2, yeah.
Before, yeah, but, oh well, definitely, Ripley's badass, gotta love aliens.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. And you talk about how it's drastically different from the first one. Alien is a great movie in its own right, and then Aliens is a great movie for completely different reasons. I mean, they're in the same franchise, but I think it's successful as a sequel because it does do things differently and it does expand upon the lore, and it does things that maybe couldn't have been done with what was possible when the first Alien movie came out, as far as effects and everything that it expanded upon. I do love all the lore that it adds with the colony on that planet. I don't remember the name of the planet, but I think that it's like a rugged, cool design that's been used since then for science fiction, like planetary colonies. And I like the vehicles they use are really well designed. The marine space armor that they wear, that's been copied for tons of, I mean, video games I can think of, and other sci-fi action movies. And then a lot of great, memorable characters are added to this. You have Bishop, you have Hicks, Vasquez, and Hudson. A lot of characters that are really memorable, stand out for their own different reasons. Bishop is this cyborg, whatever, synth. That might not be what they call him, but it's cool to see the conflict between him and Ripley early on, and then how that conflict is mended. And then Hudson's the coward, Vasquez is another female badass, and then Hicks is the only one who really trusts Ripley. So a lot of great characters in there. And I think my favorite scene has got to be Hicks lifts up the ceiling barrier, and they just see all the aliens crawling towards them. That's just such a tense moment. And then the effects are pretty great in this movie, as far as when they shoot up the aliens and you see them be blown to bits. It looks pretty realistic. Looks like real creatures being blown to bits. So those are pretty good effects. And then minor spoilers. I won't say anything specific, but the last, like, the movie could be over, like when there's 10 minutes left, and then they add in that last final confrontation where you really see the true horror of the Queen Alien, and you have the iconic line from Ripley where it's mother versus mother. Ripley, not the literal mother of Newt, but her purpose is to protect Newt, and the Queen is coming back for revenge after what Ripley did to the aliens. So it's such a great female role, not only because she's a badass, but because she has that mother instinct, and I think that's something that a lot of female action heroes don't have. So it is really an incredible sci-fi action film, one of the greatest of all time, and very influential. Did you have anything else you wanted to say on Aliens?
No, I said my piece.
Yeah, I think we hit all the main points, so we're going to move on to a more recent film, and one that we talked a little bit about just a few minutes ago, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
I remember going to see this, well, not going to see it, I remember I watched it not too long ago because I remember seeing the first one. I thought it was good, but I assumed that the second one would be kind of the same. I hadn't really seen it, hadn't heard much about it, but when I watched it, it was fantastic. I like how there's just the difference between the humans and the apes and how they change, how you can see the apes slowly, like, kind of turning into the humans as much as they don't want to. And I mean, they do eventually. I mean, Caesar helps correct the path, but still, I like to see how, like, the different species kind of, they collide with each other, yet they also collide with themselves, because there's Gary Oldman and who's
Jason
Clarke, who fight over differences, and then there's Koba and Caesar, and yeah. I thought it's just a really good action movie. I mean, obviously the scene where they're all riding on horses and charging the wall, awesome, loved all of it.
Yeah, much like Aliens, it's a sequel that expands upon the first movie in countless ways. Rise of the Planet of the Apes was more of a straight-up sci-fi movie, and then this expanded into the action. Apes on horses, I mean, that's just awesome for so many reasons. And I think part of the reason why this movie is great is because it makes you care about both the apes and the humans. You know, they're in this conflict, and you understand where both of them come from. And there are bad people and bad apes on both sides who are, you know, like Koba disobeys Caesar, and that pushes the conflict further, or that furthers the conflict. And it's interesting and compelling to see how Caesar's leadership is tested and how he handles that. And the end like fight scene between Caesar and Koba is just incredible. And there's so many incredible action sequences, and the world building is great. How they set up this world where, you know, 90% of the human population is gone from disease. It's just an incredible sci-fi action movie, and you know, like we said earlier, can't wait to see what's next. So, unless you had anything else, let's move on to The Fifth Element.
You haven't.
I have not seen this, but I know you really like it. So
The
that's
Fifth
why
Element.
we have it on here.
This is a very good movie. I can't say it's my favorite, but I mean it's another Bruce Willis action movie, and I mean it's just I really liked it when I watched it. I mean there's some weird zany characters as well, but I mean overall visually stunning, definitely a great story. My favorite scene is probably the scene at the opera. I would say it's probably my favorite. I mean, you haven't seen it, but you can't say. But overall, it's a very good movie. It's not the best, but at the time, I can't say I'd seen any movie like it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of unique in that way. And I mean, with Valerian in the City of a Thousand Planets coming out, I mean, I have high hopes for it. Although I'm not sure it'll definitely be cinematically very good, but plot, I'm not sure. But overall, Fifth Element, very good movie. Just like not necessarily. I mean, it's unique in its own way as well as being kind of like a normal sci-fi movie with action, spaceships, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I think Bruce Willis turns in a great performance, and as well, it's Mila
Jovovich.
Yeah.
I've seen pictures of Gary Oldman for that movie. He looks really weird.
Yes.
But yeah, I'll have to check it out because I like weird movies every now and then. Like to see something different.
Yeah.
The next movie we're discussing is another recent film, also with Bruce Willis, Looper. Now, there are some sci-fi action or sci-fi films that are great because of the way they explore science fiction, like Blade Runner, and then there are these sci-fi action films that are great because of the action elements, like Predator. And I think Looper is the rare movie that accomplishes both of those things. It's really unique in the way that it explores time travel, especially with Bruce Willis, the older character who's come back in time, to see how, as current events change, that affects his future. And, you know, time is non-linear, so there's lots of different possible futures that become more or less likely depending on what happens in the present, and that changes Bruce Willis's memories. I think that's such a cool idea that I never would have thought of, but it seems real, like that could be possible with time travel. So I love how they explore that. And you know, ultimately one character, without spoiling anything, one character has to make a decision that will alter the future, but he can only hope that that's going to alter the future because the future is not set, and multiple futures are possible. So I really enjoy the way they explored time travel, and it's maybe a realistic look at what could happen if the wrong people discover time travel, people with wrong intentions, how it could be used for crime. So what are some of your thoughts on Looper?
When I saw Looper, I don't think I fully appreciated it for how good it was, but I remember watching it a second time and thinking, wow, this is like such a great movie. Like, I'd never seen anything like it. I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt does a great job, as well as Bruce Willis and Emily Blunt. They all turn in great performances. I gotta say, like, there's some cool shots. There's a bunch of, like, cool scenes. And, I mean, I always thought it was cool, like, how, doesn't he, like, cuts up his arm to, like, let him know where to meet. Mm-hmm. And the guy whose fingers disappear as they, like, take him away, I always thought that was really cool.
Yeah, his whole body's disappearing.
Yeah. I thought it was just like a cool theme that does a lot with time travel and non-linear time that just, like, it just explored it very well. And then I'm trying to think of what else I have on it. I definitely like the scenes with the kid. The kid shows off like his powers. Definitely very cool. I just kind of like how it, like, definitely the scene where, like, it slows down at the end and he just kind of goes through everything. You know, like, it kind of explains itself. Definitely very cool, eye-opening movie. Was definitely underappreciated when it came out. Like, not many people expected it to be very good, and it was.
Yeah, you say Rian Johnson. Most people don't even know that name. But, I mean, the director of Looper, Rian Johnson, I think did an excellent job with a lot of the action shots in the film, and just getting great performances out of all three of those main characters. So, obviously, now he's directing Star Wars Episode 8, so I can't wait for that, to see his take on Star Wars. But, yeah, I think it definitely was underappreciated. And it's great because these characters are very flawed, and ultimately one of them is redeemed, but you don't know which one that's going to be. Well, I guess they're the same character, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt, young Joe, and Bruce Willis, old Joe. So it's cool to see which one of them is redeemed, and maybe not what you'd expect. Let's talk a little bit about Inception. Now, I think Inception we might have talked about on this podcast more than any other movie, but I don't know if you've been here for any of those. So actually, you might have been. But,
I think I have been.
What are your thoughts on Inception?
I mean, there's a lot to say about it.
There's a lot.
There's really not
we'll
much.
Keep it short.
Not much bad you can say about it. I think every single actor does great. I will forever praise the scene with Joseph Gordon-Levitt where he's fighting the people in the changing. Yeah. Definitely one of the coolest scenes I've seen in the sci-fi action movie by far. Storyline, great. Leonardo DiCaprio, great. All of it's good. I mean,
it will be a classic. I mean, it's been out for 7 years now, and I think people are already starting to think of it as a classic film. I mean, yeah, there's really not a lot you can say bad about it, and I mean, we've talked about it on here 4 times because it's such a great movie. As far as, you know, the way they explore how crime is used, or how that technology is used for crime. Again, a great sci-fi element of what would happen if that technology went into certain people's hands, if certain people discover that technology, and such great action sequences. You talk about that one with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the end action sequence in that snowy terrain is pretty incredible too. So I don't want to talk too much about Inception because we have talked about it so much, but I knew that we had to recognize it as one of the best sci-fi action movies. So let's move on to Edge of Tomorrow, which is actually another one that I have not seen, but I know you really like this one as well.
Yeah, Edge of Tomorrow, again, another great concept. I like the CGI of the mimics, I think is what they're called. I don't remember what they're called. Oh well, definitely like just a great sci-fi action film. Again, I think this is another one that kind of went underappreciated. I don't know how it did. I mean, name changes and everything. Yeah. I think it's Live, Die, Repeat now.
Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, oh well, the action was very cool. I liked the mech suits that they had. It's like, I mean, Groundhog Day, but with a lot more action. Definitely the scenes, towards the very end when they're fighting, I think it's the Luge. I don't remember where they're fighting. I think it's in London, though. I thought it's just a good movie. I mean, it's not the best of its kind in any aspect, but definitely it just went together well. The plot goes well. It's like a very well put together movie that you wouldn't have necessarily thought was great, but was.
I mean, Tom Cruise, I'm sure, was good in every scene he was in.
Yeah.
I can say that without having seen the movie because it's Tom Cruise. Although I'm not a fan of Jack Reacher, but that's an exception.
I liked the first Jack Reacher. I didn't like the second.
I know you liked the first one. You made me watch it with you.
It's a good movie.
We're going to move on to my favorite sci-fi action movie of all time, my favorite sci-fi movie of all time, and my favorite action movie of all time, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Yeah, it's a bold statement. I think it's a little better than Die Hard, but Terminator 2, growing up was probably my favorite movie. Yeah, I did watch it when I was like 8. Pretty brutal movie, but I turned out all right. I love I love how they have both Arnold and Robert Patrick come back in time, and it's a little unclear of which one's there to protect John Connor and then which one's there to kill him. And then you see the horror in Linda Hamilton, Sarah Connor's eyes when she first sees Arnold, which you have to see the first one to fully appreciate it. You have to see it first. But I love everything about Terminator 2, from the Guns N' Roses to the motorcycle sequence where Arnold and John Connor are being chased by the T-1000. I think the T-1000 is one of the greatest villains, one of the most underappreciated villains in all of sci-fi action. He can literally be the floor, and he can be anything. So that was a great concept that I think also really used CGI well. Really good early use of CGI was the T-1000. So Grant, what do you think of T2 Judgment Day?
I haven't seen it in a long time. Again, I probably saw it a little bit later than you did. When like 8, I don't think my parents let me watch a movie like that at that time. But definitely blockbuster movie. Definitely great. Arnold Schwarzenegger, fantastic. It's as there wasn't as much humor in the first one, I think there was a lot more in this one. I really like that.
Great chemistry between John Connor as a kid and Terminator, as he sort of teaches him the ways of human, of people. So
yeah, just too many iconic one-liners.
Oh yeah,
always, all of them great. The villain, definitely cool. I like that. I mean, Arnold was going against a guy who was better than him, but they still held up and fight. Sarah Connor with like the paranoia. I like how she flashes back throughout it, and she's in like a mental hospital. It's all a great movie. I mean, I can't say anything bad about it.
Sarah Connor, maybe not the best female action hero, but definitely the most badass female action hero. Because I say that not the best because she's more masculine almost, which is why I think Ripley sort of takes that, but very badass. And the end, I can't spoil it because you gotta see that if you haven't. But the end it's a great moment with Arnold with the thumbs up. That's all I'll say. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Great moment. Still brings a tear to my eye. So I love Terminator 2. But another great sci-fi action movie that is in contention for the best sci-fi action movie is a very recent movie from 2 years ago. My favorite movie of 2015, Mad Max Fury Road. So, Grant, I know you're excited to talk about this one.
Oh my gosh. I remember talking about this movie, and I was so skeptical of it. Like, I did not think it was going to be that good. And then it came out, and it was fantastic. Oh my, I cannot get over the scene when they go into the storm, and like I still love the part when the truck gets picked up and then blows up. I love all of that movie. I cannot wait for the second one. It's so good. I mean, there's not enough good things you can say about this movie. I mean, Tom Hardy doesn't say too much, grunts a whole lot, but same as Charlize Theron. Definitely the scene where she's on her knees in like the desert. There's just so many good shots.
Yeah.
Shout out to Arthur Miller for being 70 and still making such great movies.
I think that like there are so many action scenes that just blow you away in this. I mean, really, the whole movie's one action scene, but you talk about the scene with the guys on the poles that are swinging back and forth and picking people up off of cars, and I mean that's all real. Like they did all practical effects, shot it in the desert. I think if you watch the special features, that further enhances your enjoyment of this film. I know it does for me because you get to see how they pulled off some of those incredible action scenes. The truck flip at the end is just incredible that they pulled that off. They actually did that. And then I think that the world that they set you in with the War Boys, it's just such an awesome post-apocalyptic world that is so original and just so intense that your eyes are glued to the screen for 2 hours, and
And-
it's non-stop action.
And the score.
The score is
The
incredible.
score is so
Yeah.
good. I mean, all of it's just awesome. I mean, it's so good.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be able to watch that movie on Blu-ray like every week and just see something new every time I watch it because there's so many incredible action shots, and I know I will be watching that movie a lot more because I love it. And if you haven't seen that, go watch it right now. What are you doing? That's all we have as far as sci-fi action goes. I want to thank all of you who are watching the show today, and I want to encourage you to leave a comment in the comment section. Let us know what your favorite sci-fi action films are. Did we forget any big ones? Let us know, and also let us know what you'd like to see us do with this show in the future. I want to make this the best show for the viewers. Thank you, Grant, for coming out today.
No problem.
I'm always glad to have you here. I know you're a hardcore movie fan.
Always.
You probably know more about movies than I do, so I'm always glad to have you. And I know I'm going to go watch my Rogue One Blu-ray. So thanks to everyone for listening. We'll be back next week.